Hey guys, I'm Dov, and today I'm back with more Total War Warhammer 2 online action. We're here with the Dark Elves today, going to be facing up against the Empire. This is a game I fought against Pharaoh O'War in our Best of 5 series that was on Turn's stream, so definitely in for a tough battle. Pharaoh O'War is a very good player, who also has his own YouTube and Twitch channels. Of course, I'll leave links down in the description below. Definitely recommend you guys go check him out. He does a lot of tournament casts and so on. Definitely a great player and a great guy. So we had a lot of fun in this best of 5 here, so I wanted to bring you this and one other battle as well. So in this first matchup, Dark Elves against the Empire, definitely an uphill battle for the Empire. So let's go ahead and take a look at the army compositions. Of course, I've got Lord Malekith on his Seraphon here. He's got, of course, Gaze of Malice, Stand Your Ground, all the goodies. We've got Soul Stealer, Power of Darkness, as well as Dragon Breath, of course. I also brought the Circlet of Iron for that map-wide 50% miscast chance, because I figured we'll probably be seeing Nets, or Lore of Life, or, you know, some kind of caster from the Empire, so definitely wanted to bring that along, and I had the extra funds for it. In addition, we've also got 2 Lizard Limos. Yes, indeed, the Cold One Chariots here, which are a very, very strong unit, one of my favorite units in the game right now. They do a ton of armor-piercing missile damage. They can do a lot of damage in melee as well with armor-piercing anti-infantry. Just a great all-around unit, 110 armor, pretty quick as well at 66 speed. You know, standard with most heavy cavalry, so very good stuff. And yeah, just a ton to like about those guys. So we've got one there and another on the other side here. Front line is Black Ark Corsairs. We've got Dread Spears on the flanks. 2 units of Dark Shards with shields. One here and one here. We've got a reserve unit of Witch Elves and a reserve unit of Hargoneth Executioners. So definitely very strong front line, and the Empire doesn't really have anything except greatswords that can kill Black Ark Corsairs, so I really like them against the Empire. Of course, Hargoneth Executioners will kill all Empire infantry. We've also got the Dark Shards as well to deal with greatswords, you know, Empire Cav and so on. These Witch Elves are here just as kind of a protector in case we get compromised by heavy cav. We can use them to lock down said heavy cavalry, and the spears are just there for anti-cav support as well. Good stuff. So for Pharaoh O'War's build, he's got Boris Todbringer, who's the most competitive flying lord choice for the Empire. Very strong and up on his Griffin, although Griffin's, you know, kind of pale in comparison to some of the other monsters in Warhammer 2, like dragons, for example. Still very strong, 70 charge bonus and regeneration. He's also got a front line of spearmen. 1, 2, probably another here, so 3. We've got 2 great swords, Sigmar's Sons, and lots of heavy cavalry. So Reiksguard and the Royal Altdorf Griffites being supported by a Grey Wizard here, and on the other side, more Demigryph Knights and more Reiksguard. So lots of heavy cavalry, which I very much like. Forgot to mention I do have a unit of Dark Riders with shields over on the far side that we're going to be bringing in shortly. So first, Boris has come in to do some early engagements. We did miss a bit of a Dragon Breath. Pharaoh did a good job of dodging that. Now he's going to have to dodge some, you know, armor-piercing crossbow bolts as well. Over here on this side, I was trying to bait out an engagement with these Cold One Chariots, and we are going to be doing so. So I'm going to pull these guys over towards this forest here and kind of bring these spears in for support. Melkos Mystifying Miasma, slowing my Cold One Chariots a bit, but you can see the fire opening up there from the Dark Shards, doing some nice damage to those Reiksguard. And look at the amount of damage that the Royal Altdorf Griffites have already taken from the armor-piercing missiles of this Cold One Chariot. I mean, they've already taken 10 to 20% of their HP and damage from this Cold One Chariot's missiles here, and as it pulls away, they'll continue to fire, and it's just going to be a really bad day for the Altdorf Griffites. Meanwhile, in the mainline engagement here, Empire Spearmen going to be charging through the woods. They're getting a little bit kind of messed up by the terrain here, which is definitely in my favor. These are also unshielded spearmen, so they'll take a nasty couple of volleys there from those Dark Shards. Over on this side, we are just jumping everything on these Royal Altdorf Griffites. They're very expensive units, so I wanted to take them out as quickly as possible. Got the spears inundated with the Cold One Chariots, and Malekith going to be taking them out in a big hurry. Enfeebling Foe cast on Malekith. Very good stuff from the Lore of Shadows Mage. Let's see. Boris is going to jump in here as well and try and get on Malekith with that Enfeebling Foe on him. Just do as much damage as possible. He's also bringing in these Reiksguard for support, and if they get a nice rear charge, they will do a ton of shock damage to these Red Spears. So I'm going to immediately pull these Dark Riders who are coming to support in this fight and just interrupt the charge of these Reiksguard. The Dark Riders will lose super hard here, but I mostly just need them to interrupt the Reiksguard from supporting in this engagement momentarily. You can see the Royal Altorf Gryphites are already almost gone, which means we can turn our full attention over onto Boris. In the frontline engagement, the Black Ark Corsairs have done very, very well. I did miss my charge bonus, unfortunately, but we're still carving through those spearmen relatively easily. Spearmen are not going to be able to stand up to a unit like Black Ark Corsairs in any sense. Great Swords and Hargoneth, the Sigmar's Sons coming over on this side. We're going to be countercharging with the Hargoneth Executioners and doing some nice focus fire with the Dark Shards as well. And over here, this Lizard Limo over on this flank, just doing some nice armor-piercing firing. It is going to get inundated by Cav a little bit here, but he doesn't jump directly on them with the demis, so they're not going to take a ton of damage. And, we do have plenty of units nearby for support. Over on this side, near the main engagement, you can see the Dark Riders did decisively lose there. That's all right. They've tied up that Reiksguard for just a moment here, buying me enough time to rout off these Royal Altorf Gryphites here. And finally, you can see the Reiksguard coming in for support, and they will do a nasty amount of shock damage to those Dread Spears. However, it's a little bit too late for Boris. He's already taken a ton of HP damage there. We're dropping a Soul Stealer on this entire pocket, so going to be sucking away the health and healing Malekith. Boris is going to come up in the air, however, he's right next to this unit of Dark Shards here, and as he comes in to charge on them, he's going to take so much damage in his face that he actually routs as soon as he hits the ground. So he gets 1 or 2 attack animations on those Dark Shards and immediately routs. We've got Malekith in the air hunting him down as well, so he's going to be getting, 1 or 2 Dragon Breaths is pretty much going to see Boris off at this point. So we've been able to carve through most of the spears, now bringing this heavy pocket of, Black Ark Corsairs and Witch Elves over here. We are getting a little bit compromised on these Dark Shards here. They're going to be inundated by these Great Swords here. Hargoneth Executioners holding out very, very well. They are carving up these Sigmar's Sons, and we're also being supported by the Cold One Chariot here, doing very well against these Great Swords and so on. Unfortunately, we have been compromised a little bit in the back line here. The Reiksguard have been able to kind of get a bit of a rear charge here, get onto one of the units of Dark Shards, and just completely shut them down. However, we do have the Witch Elves getting in here, so they're going to enrage this unit of Reiksguard and lock it down, allowing us to do some damage. Another unit of Demigryph Knights here charging in, again, doing a ton of damage. They actually routed off that unit of Dark Shards on the far side. Malekith going to be coming in and engaging here. The Witch Elves are also getting in some attack animations, which means these guys are enraged. They're out of control, which means I am going to be able to rally my Dark Shards and start firing into this engagement. Over here, these Dread Spears have been absolute MVPs in this matchup, just holding up on this flank, doing a ton of damage to Reiksguard and, the Royal Altorf Gryphites and so on. We just got the Cold One Chariots kind of parked on station here, firing in some armor-piercing missiles. Over here in this engagement, the Cold One Chariots are actually enraged, but, they're still able to do quite a bit of anti-infantry armor-piercing damage, even if they're not running around. That's the nice thing about this chariot, is it doesn't rely quite as much on the impact damage like a lot of other chariots do. But Hargoneth Executioners and Black Ark Corsairs will be able to carve through these Great Swords relatively easily here, finish them off. You can see Boris has come back from routing, going to be helping to support in this mainline engagement here. He's going to have to be very careful, though, because we do have some Witch Elves close on station, and as soon as they get an attack animation on Boris, it's going to pretty much be over. And yep, there he gets enraged, and yeah, we're going to be able to just turn and shoot with the Dark Shards and with this Lizard Limo here, so yeah, poor Boris is not long for this world, and you can see the balance of power is pretty heavily in my favor. It is a pretty uphill battle for Pharaoh Owar, so well played to him for putting up a great fight here. Definitely was a tough battle, despite, definitely having the advantage on faction selection, so in terms of the army breakdown here, Hargoneth Executioners getting 106 kills. They were mostly against the Sigmar's Sons, but again, Sigmar's Sons won't do a whole lot of damage in return, so it's a pretty good trade in my book. The Dark Shards with shields ended up, I believe I had them to double bronze or triple bronze chevrons. I don't quite remember, but they did some excellent work against Boris, just completely negated him from the start of the battle. Did some great work against the Great Swords and Empire Cav as well. The Black Ark Corsairs, rather, in the front line did very well against Spearmen, kind of won that engagement pretty decisively. Witch Elves helping secure that back line. Lizard Limos were absolute MVPs. Even though they didn't get chevrons, they just held up those Cav, did tons of armor-piercing damage, and, were just really MVPs in that matchup. Malekith is very strong as well, of course, with Soul Stealer and everything. So Boris, it's a tough pick, honestly. There's not really a good Empire Lord in this matchup right now, at least in my opinion. The Griffins just really can't stand up to dragons, and despite not having a hard snare For flying units, you know, they can still, you could bring Malekith on the ground, for example, and then you'll have to charge your Griffin down to the ground where there's potentially Witch Elves and Black Art of Nagarond and other things. So it's tough for the Empire. I'm not really sure on a good Lord selection here. You know, Volkmar's usually a pretty good pick in a lot of situations. He seems to be the more competitive pick more often than not now. The Banishment's really good. You have the Chariot to do anti-infantry damage. You know, just lots of other stuff to like about Volkmar, but it's tough. In terms of the infantry composition here, Greatswords did pretty decently in certain matchups, but they just really struggle, even against the cheaper Dark Elf infantry like Black Orc Corsairs. They'll struggle. The Reiksguard, I really like the pick of these guys in this matchup. They were able to do a bit of damage, but you know, not quite enough in the end. I was deployed kind of in the forest there, which definitely worked to my advantage. Demis did some good damage, shut down one unit of Dark Shards, and you know, I definitely like this heavy cav focus from the Empire. So I do think you need to go a bit wider against the Dark Elves, just because the Dark Shards are going to be pretty dangerous, I would say. They're one of the major threats you're going to face. Keep in mind that the balance patch is coming later this week. I believe, if I remember correctly, it's releasing on the 14th of December. It's when they said the reprisal update's coming out, so everything's hopefully going to be changing then. Hopefully we'll see a resurgence of the Empire in Bretonnia. I'm curious to see what they buff and what they nerf. It's always interesting to see kind of how the balance changes go down, so rest assured I'll be bringing you lots of testing on that day to kind of hash out where things are at. And meanwhile, keep it right here for more Total War Warhammer 2 battle reports. We'll keep it going with that. If you like this kind of content, like and subscribe. And yeah, we'll see you next time.